Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today, I'm looking at Jonathan Creek, the Chequered Box. Or as I like to call it, that time a potted plant solved a murder. We begin the episode with some builders outside Carla's house as she gets ready, and with the toilet out of order, she's forced to use the outdoor one, where the builders all catcall her. Jonathan, meanwhile, walks through the park and picks up a sign about Adam's latest stunt, before visiting the man himself, who is rather disorientated, and complaining about the vibrations from the subway. Jonathan announces he's got to be brought back up because two women complained he looked up their skirts, while Carla follows Inspector Adrian Fell around, where they end up at a crime scene where some guy is dead inside a locked room. Adrian feels around the body and discovers a walnut, and in his pajamas, more walnuts intentionally placed there. This woman Hattie snoops around, but is caught by Herbie, who destroys her film, and holy crap, look at the price of petrol back then! Adrian explains that the victim suffered from sleep apnea and that's what killed him, before he discovers Hattie trying to sneak to the morgue via a body bag. I don't think you're allowed to do that, and she threatens revenge before getting an anonymous tip to go somewhere the following night. Carla gushes to Jonathan how great she thinks Adrian is. What the hell is that? Before he gets a phone call from Adam, who reveals his latest stunt idea. The next night, Hattie follows the instructions and goes into a building, narrowly avoiding detection, and looks out of the window where she sees a hanging body and Adrian at the scene. He wipes away his prints and laughs at his handiwork before making off with a file. She calls to report what she saw, but when her phone cuts out, she stops to use a phone box, but a car is stolen in the meantime, with her photographic evidence inside. Jonathan comes to the studio saying the sleep apnea guy's death may be more sinister, but no one's listening because Carla is reporting on the lawyer, who she thinks was murdered, and mentions chewing gum found in the plant pot near the body. Brendan gets home as the portable toilet is towed away, only to get a call from Carla, who is trapped inside. So in desperation, she calls Adrian, who is able to arrange rescue. The police car drops her off at Adrian's, while Hattie comes to see Adam's latest stunt, which is slightly more biblical than the last. She approaches Jonathan and explains her situation, so he rings Carla to warn her about Adrian, and it all becomes very awkward and intimidating as he strokes the titular checkered box. Adrian's daughter Jessica comes home, and there's some clear hostility, so Carla hops in a cab but hops back out again in order to spy on them arguing, where Adrian mentions being bound by a contract with Mr. G and hands Jessica the box. Unable to spy any further, Carla nicks and goes through Adrian's bins and asks Jonathan for help, who stumbles across an article which ties the lawyer, Adrian, and the walnut guy to a couple of London crime lords. The pair break into the walnut crime scene, where Carla puts on the guy's pajamas and discovers the walnuts were sewn in the wrong place for sleep apnea, and Jonathan surmises the bolts were locked from the other side and the twine burned, and in the car, Jonathan saves Carla from being stabbed through the roof. The next day, Brendan introduces Adrian to Jonathan, who compliments him on his work in Mother Redcap. But before the conversation can go too far, Hattie and Herbie rock up, finally in possession of the photos, and Adrian is forced to explain himself. He says Jessica fell into the wrong crowd and got caught up dealing and using drugs, but had been clean for 18 months, until the lawyer, Marion Crespo, contacted him, saying Jessica had been dealing again, so he went to see her, chucking his gum in the corner plant pot and stole the evidence implicating Jessica, before covering his tracks, except for his DNA on the chewing gum. Come on, dude, you are a police officer! Anyway, he says there was no hanging body and that Hattie photoshopped the pictures, but no one believes him and he's promptly arrested, with Jonathan fixated on the fact that Adrian's chewing gum seems to have moved from the corner plant pot to the one near the body. He gets an emergency phone call and rushes to Adam, whose stunt is about to land him in shit. Unstopped in traffic, Adrian makes a break for it, but surely you can't just open the back door of a police car from the inside. Adam is hoisted back up into position, which sparks something in Jonathan, but that's a little too far, guys. Mind his spine. Adrian makes it home and eyes up the box, while Jonathan and Carla go to Marion's office, which is partially under construction, and Adrian pops up in the building opposite with a gun and opens fire on them. But it's not Adrian, it's Patrick MacDonald, whom he tackles and arrests as Herbie shows up to the scene. With everyone together, we discover that after MacDonald's partner in crime unalived himself in prison, he was able to get out on parole a month ago and went on a spree to get revenge on those who put him away: Derek, Marion, and Adrian. The letter about Jessica was faked to get Adrian into the office, where he threw his gum in the pot in the corner. But it wasn't moved, the corner was instead. After MacDonald killed Marion, he strung her up and installed a dummy wall to hide the body. So when Hattie turned up opposite, she saw what looked like Adrian laughing at a dead body, when in fact it was a picture on a wall that was taken down after he left. Jonathan reveals that Adrian is in fact a committed Christian, Mr. G is God, and the contents of the checkered box was the Holy Bible, which Jessica swore her innocence of, and contained a picture of Adrian's late wife. Okay, first thing of note, I don't particularly like Carla. Maddie was a much better character and had better chemistry with Jonathan, so the later seasons will never be as good to me as the ones where Maddie features, although they do have some interesting cases. This one is pretty unique because it's not about proving guilt, it's about proving innocence despite the damning evidence, something that is more Murder, She Wrote style. I'm not that bothered about religion as a plot point, and I'm not sure how well it worked here, except for making Adrian unnecessarily sinister. But the overall concept was good, even though there were plot holes aplenty. First off, why bother wiping away prints if you're gonna leave obvious DNA behind? Second, why did Adrian go to see Marion at almost midnight, and how did MacDonald know about it? And finally, why would someone go to the trouble of stealing a car and driving around in it for 3 days, but not steal or sell the valuable camera in the back of it? But that aside, it's pretty clever, tying the seemingly innocuous crime to the main one, a la the aforementioned Mother Redcap, and going above and beyond what you think people would do in a crime. Move a plant pot, sure, but you'd never think people would go to the trouble of installing and removing a whole wall just to sell the bit. And yet, you could spot that during the flashback when Adrian tells his story. You can see that the wall is closer, but you only really clock it on a second viewing. We have 2 victims: Derek Crozier, suffocated for flipping on his crime buddies, and Marion Crespo, hanged for putting away our killer, Patrick MacDonald, who tried to get Adrian Fell to take the fall. So there you have it. That was The Checkered Box. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want more videos like this one. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.